Now on the brisket, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but the longer you cook a brisket, the more tender it's going to be, the more moist it's going to be. Okay, a lot of people will say, oh, 185, that's done for beef because you don't want to go higher than that. I don't wrap mine until 185, and then I will run it up to 205. And people go, oh, that's burnt. No, you can't do that. That's terrible. But you want that outside bark on it. So that's what happens when you get it up to 185 with just the smoke. Then when you wrap it, all that moisture that's coming up through that meat that normally would just fall off is going to suck right back down into that meat. So then that's where you get your tenderness, and that's why people pull it too soon. That's why it's tough, and that's why it dries out, because that moisture is not there. Because it doesn't allow it to soak back down in that meat. You need that moisture. In fact, when I reheat brisket, if I cook some and I reheat it, I will put a dab of butter on top of it before I stick it in the oven or whatever. That allows that fat to get back down in there, and that's what makes it moist and tender again. So it's just like I said again, just learning the different cuts of meat, learning what works and what doesn't work for you, and that's basically just trial and error. You just got to practice, and go. And besides, that's fun, and you get to eat. So hey.
So I saw you sticking a temperature gauge in that chicken a little bit earlier, and you mentioned it about 175, and then you let it rest.
I will pull these off about 170 and 175, just because it's a bigger chunk and it's two pieces, but they're not torn apart. If I'm just doing cut up chicken, I'll run it to about 165. But because they're two pieces together, and they both cook a little different, you want to make sure that it's totally done all the way through, so you don't serve anybody or they don't bite into it.
Right. So does do all the basic meats? Will they continue the cooking process a little bit after you take them off? Or are they basically cooking from inside? Or
brisket will be your long. It'll cook longer. Pork and chicken, not so much. They do for a little bit, but then they'll cool off pretty quick. Even when you cook a hamburger, if you cook a hamburger to a medium rare to medium done, and you pull it off, by the time you eat it 5-10 minutes later, by the time you get your bun fixed and everything else, it's going to be medium well. And people don't realize that either. They cook it till it's done, then they go to eat it and it's dried out, and it's well, it's not good. Well, it's because you overcooked it. Beef especially, beef will hold temperature for a long time, and so it does continue to cook. And so that's why you let the brisket rest, because it needs to chill for just a little bit and let those juices fall back down in there. So, and a lot of times and I've done this enough that when I'm poking something like with chicken, I'm not necessarily temping it. I mean, I know the temperature because I've done it enough, but I'm looking for that pullback. I'm looking for the juices to come back out. If it's pink, then I know it's not done. If it's clear, then I know it's ready to come off.
Okay, so the clear juices are an indicator
all the way through. Yeah.
of cooked, juicy chicken.
Yep. And that means your juices are still there, and if you poke it and nothing comes out, then you probably cooked it too long.
All right.
I've done that before too, yeah.